Welcome to this episode of Golf Talk. Glad you could be with us. Today we're going to talk about cart path only. We're going to have an update on the Tenacity Rebuild and Restoration Committee. And we're going to talk about why my bum knees and bad eyes don't relate to what we call handicap. Stay with us. And welcome back. Today we have our two great guests. Well, they're actually regulars now. Casey Flenniken, Director of Golf, and Wells McClure, Director of Golf Maintenance. Welcome, guys.
Thanks, Pat.
I want to bring up, first of all, to both of you, but start off with Wells. How do we determine cart path only?
Cart path only during different times of the year can mean different things. In the summertime, it's typically following a heavy rain event when our Bermuda grass is actively growing. We do cart path only more so for safety reasons. If there's surface water, those carts can skid and hydroplane a little bit. As we get into the fall and winter, there's a couple other reasons we do it. One is as the Bermuda grass slows down, the roots are not taking in the moisture that's in the soil. So if we get a half-inch rain event, in the summertime, we might be back out on the path 6 hours later or the next day for sure. A half-inch to a 1-inch rain event in November, December, or even as you get further into the winter, could last days.
Right.
As there's surface water, it hangs around a little bit longer. The ground gets kind of soft, so we can track up the golf course, especially in low-lying areas. So sometimes we'll go modified cart path only, and we'll say, our wetter holes, our holes that just kind of stay saturated, those will be cart path only, and then we might say, please be cautious of low-lying areas on all other holes.
Right.
So we kind of leave that up to the golfer, and as long as folks can kind of use their head and stay out of areas they shouldn't be, that keeps the whole golf course from going cart path only. We're very liberal with our cart path only rules in Tellico Village. We know our folks enjoy being able to come off the path, so we try to do it as much as we can. But again, in the fall and winter, you're going to see more days cart path only following a weather event. What you're also going to see this time of year is we make certain holes cart path only from a turf health perspective. We have certain holes that are north-facing slopes that as we get into the winter, they just don't get much sunlight. And they also, some of those holes may have concentrated entries into the fairway and concentrated exits out of the fairway.
Well, let me stop you right there. Let's go back. So now you got a rain event, 2 or 3 inches. We understand that.
Yep.
A couple of days later, if it was a really big rain event, a day later, maybe 2, you could still be cart path only because of what you just said.
Possibly, yeah, absolutely.
Now let's go to dry. We have some holes now at Tenacity particularly that are, help me out here, number 6, 10, 11.
Yep.
And you were talking about the weather or shade. 8 at Tellico comes to mind.
Yep.
So why are we cart path only on those?
Yep, so we've always been cart path only on 10 at Tenacity and 11 the last few years for sure, because of the winter damage that cart traffic can do on those north-facing slopes or the concentrated entry and exits. The grass just can't recover. And if we don't make those holes cart path only, we're not going to have any grass at those entry and exits.
So you're looking for an improved playability in the spring of 24.
Absolutely,
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of come on pretty with some complaints a little bit here lately at Tenacity. I don't know if they're complaints or just concerns while we're doing it. But 2, 7, and 8 at Tellico have been cart path only through the winter for years. I know Chris determined those holes they're so shaded, the grass just couldn't recover, and it took forever for us to have an acceptable surface on those holes in the springtime. And then also number 7 at Kahiti, that whole right side gets no sunlight, and it took Jordan's Rough a long time to recover this past year.
I don't think sun ever shines on 7.
I don't think it does.
Down in that hole.
A lot of private clubs in the area, they don't even let you go in the fairway the entire off season. It's rough only. So they're very lenient with our rules. Wells and his team, they're aware that we estimate 35 to 40% of our revenue for the day every time we go path only.
Sure.
So if it's path only, it needs to be for a reason. And I'll add from an operations standpoint that if the entire golf course is path only, that applies to enhanced golf cart for our handicap patrons as well, because nobody's allowed that day due to the precautionary reasons of as he was saying, the golf cart can slip or skid, and
Yeah.
the last thing we need to do is get somebody hurt while they're playing golf.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else about cart path only?
Just, if you go out on the golf course in the springtime, you'll notice areas that are past our cart exit signs.
Yeah.
And just for perspective, in the spring when you're out there playing, and like at Kahidi, I know they've got cart signs on 1. If your ball lands short of 1, you look down, you address your ball, there's not going to be a whole lot of good, thick, lush grass underneath your ball in April. But if you go just past that cart sign, I mean, it's like perfect.
Right.
So that's kind of a way to see that the cart traffic is a direct correlation to turf health, especially in the springtime.
Yeah. Okay, Casey, the question's to you.
Okay.
Reading a little bit about social media lately, there's been some confusion on the Tenacity Restoration Committee regarding golf simulators and flex space.
Yep.
And you were both on that committee, as well as I have been. And I'd like for you to clear some of that up, some of that confusion.
Yeah, sure, Pat. I'd probably start by saying that don't believe everything you see on Nextdoor would be a good tip, right? But there is a little bit of changes in what we've shown at some town halls.
Right.
Originally, we were gung-ho about this project and then had to kind of hit the brakes a little bit because obviously cost is a factor.
Right.
Inflation is real, and we're all seeing the direct effect of that. So we initially were hoping to get a couple simulator spaces in there for golf.
Right.
It was presented to the board, and we saw the cost associated. We're asked to trim that back. So the community was very outspoken to say, hey, we would like to have flex space, meeting space, built into that new Tenacity clubhouse. So the simulators now, we've transitioned into a flex space that can serve as a meeting room. I can have staff meetings there. Maybe that's for card players. And we couldn't just take that space away completely because you have to have it due to the golf carts that are going to go underneath.
Right.
So that space was almost mandatory, I guess would be a fair term by the architect, in order to have enough room to house the golf carts.
Right.
But yeah, it's just more of a flex space now as well.
And if you go back and look at the last town hall video, I think Carla Johnson pointed that out in great detail. It's behind or towards the lake side of the pro shop.
That's correct.
Pretty much on both sides of the facility.
Yep.
And as you said, that pro shop had to be that size because of the space underneath for the carts.
That is correct.
And our new regulations having to correspond to fire codes with the lithium batteries, all that tied into it.
Correct.
Okay. Did you bring us a player tip? I'm thoroughly enjoying those.
I did, Pat. So we just hosted Member this past weekend, and you notice the greens are really, really good right now. The dry jack process was smooth, flawless. These guys did a great job.
So does your sense of good relate to fast? Because I've noticed
when
that.
I feel a little bit of firmness and I see some speed on the ball roll, I know the greens are really good.
They were fabulous this
When they
weekend.
look the way they do, right? And you see that leaf blade and it's healthy, but the ball roll's still quick, and you're starting to see some pitch shots, some chip shots kind of take that one hop and then release and not just stop. That's when I know you've got some really good conditions, and you really got to go and start to be cautious on the green. So our player tip this week is actually from our assistant professional at Tellico, Michael Ledbetter. So Michael, let's take it to you and talk a little bit about putting and how that can help our players this fall.
All right, thank you guys. My name is Michael Ledbetter. I'm one of the golf professionals here at Tellico Village. I'm the assistant pro here at Tellico. I know last week Lucas touched on green reading and pace. Today I'm going to go over a little bit more of the mechanics of the putting stroke and see how I can help you out. So one thing I like to think about whenever I'm about to address my putt, I want to make sure that I always have the correct amount of spacing between myself and the putt itself. So if I'm standing over the golf ball and I drop another golf ball down from my eye level, I should be able to hit the golf ball that I am addressing. So if I do this right here, I'm standing way too far away from the golf ball, right? So essentially I'm creating two different start lines in my own head. So one, I think the line's right here because that's where my eyes are actually looking down at. In reality, I need to be looking more down the putt line of what I'm choosing that the read's going to be. So we need to make sure that our distance away from the golf ball is correct. We want to make sure our eyes are directly over the golf ball. If I drop this golf ball, I should have it right directly over the other one. That's pretty good there. So making sure that you're always addressing the appropriate amount of spacing from the golf ball. That'll also help you out so we can make sure that our start line is on the right line. So when it comes to putting, there are a lot of different grips that you can choose. You got your left hand low that you could go. You got your traditional right hand underneath for a right-handed player. You can do a pencil grip with your index finger, a claw grip. There's numerous amounts of grips that you can mess and tinker with. I suggest, once you pick one, make sure you stick with it, because there's nothing wrong with you're not going to be able to get consistent if you always change up your grip every week or so. So the best way that I like to teach the putting grip is, especially for intermediate golfers, I'm just going to take my left hand, put my thumb straight down the shaft. I'm going to cover with my right hand, and then I'm just going to take my stance, and I'm going to have that putter standing out for me, and then I can just drop that putter straight down, and that'll keep me nice and in line and in tune with my putt. That's really the easiest way that I always teach the putting grip, is just left hand, thumb straight down, cover it with your right hand, and just drop that putter straight on the ground. Another thing that you want to be mindful of when you're putting is your actual feet themselves. So if I have a really short putt, just like to this flag right here, I'm going to keep my feet a little bit more narrow, maybe about shoulder width apart. And I like to think about my putting stroke is going from my toe to my other toe on the through swing. Okay, so if I go back to my toe here, then I should be able to make my through stroke on the other side of my left foot. So that's traditionally what I feel whenever I'm thinking about a short putt. I'm going to have my feet about shoulder width apart, and I'm going to keep the stroke within my feet. So it's going to be a nice simple toe to toe. And think about if we go a little bit further, if I wanted to go and putt to this hole way down here, I'm not necessarily going to have my feet so close together, because if I have my feet close together, I'm setting myself up for more of a shorter putt. But if I have to go a little bit further away, about 25-30 feet, I'm going to have to make the base of my feet a little bit wider. So anything outside of the short putts, I like to make sure my feet are outside of my shoulders, and that just allows me to make a longer putt and a longer stroke with my putter. All right, another thing that I would like to mention about our putting stroke, we want to make sure that our body is actually in line at address. So whenever I address the golf ball, I always want to be mindful that my hips, my shoulders, everything is in line with my flag. If I start with my shoulders here already, now I'm pointing way left about 6 feet. So if I'm already setting up at address and I'm way open, more than likely my putter is going to want to shut on that golf ball. We call that a peak. It's like if you're on the driving range and you're wanting to see where that ball goes before you actually strike it, then we're probably going to hit it thin or hit the top of the golf ball. So just to make sure that we have a nice center contacted stroke, we want to make sure to keep our shoulders in line and our knees and our feet all in line together, so we can make sure that we start our ball on the correct line in the groove. All right, guys, so that was some tips and tricks that you could use out on the course, especially when you're practicing. Don't be afraid to holler at one of us golf pros here, and we would love to help you out with your putting stroke. Hopefully you can take these tips and apply it to your game out on the course. We're now going to go inside, and we're going to take a look at the different styles of putters that you can use and buy here in the shop at Tellico. Thank you guys for joining us here at Tellico Golf Shop. I'm going to go over a few of the different style putters that we do have here. And it's all kind of based on your actual putting stroke itself. So right here I have a straight arc putter. It's called the Ping Monday. It is more of your mallet style putter. So when we're talking about a straight arc putter, that means that we're normally always going to be like a pendulum with our golf swing. So we're always going to be straight back with the putter, and we're always going to be straight through with the putter. That's what a straight arc putting stroke and putter will do for you. We also have the Ping Answer 2D. It's more of your traditional bladed putter. This is a slight arc putter, so this is someone who traditionally in their swing likes to bring the putter open a little bit, and then they will come at impact and close it back. And I feel like there's a lot more timing involved. I'm always a straight back, straight through guy, but everyone's putting stroke is a little bit different. And then you got your strong arc putter, which is the new Ping Primetime 4. It's more of like a half mallet. So you got your blade, your mallet, and then like your half mallet. Again, strong arc is someone who really likes to open up the club face and then they come back at impact and try to close it. So if that's someone's traditional putting stroke, then the strong arc putter will be for you. Also with the new ladies line, the Ping GLE 3, they have 3 new putters that they came out with, more of your bladed style putter, half mallet style putter, and then a lot of the ladies' favorite one, the GLE Fetch. So this actually has a hole in the bottom of it, so you can actually just pick up your golf ball and get it. So that does relieve some strain and stress off of your back. But yeah, come visit the shop here at Tellico. We have all different styles of putters for you. Hopefully we can help you get the right putter for your game. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, Michael, for that tip. We greatly appreciate it, and I will use that just like I've used all the other tips. So Wells, this is the time of year where we have a massive amount of leaves fall, and there's nothing worse, in my opinion, than hitting a drive right down the middle of the fairway and you can't find your golf ball. You guys do a remarkable job of keeping the leaves off the fairways and as much off the rough as possible. How do you guys do that?
Well, Pat, thankfully we are blessed with some really good leaf equipment because of where we are and the nature of our golf courses. Obviously, the majority of that equipment is on this side of the village. Not a whole lot of leaves at Kahiti to contend with, but every day we go out, we send 3 or 4 really high-powered blowers out. I think today we had 3 out at Tenassi, and we cleared close to 90 acres by 10 o'clock. And it's really just getting started. As the fall continues on and we start getting those first frosts, we'll start to have a few more leaves. When we get that first freeze, typically around the first week or 2 in November, that's when they really start coming down. So our plan every day is to, at the very least, get it off the short grass, off our tees, fairways, and surrounds. And then we try to get it out into the rough as much as we can. And if time allows, we'll have another guy that comes through with a blower that can kind of get it into a direction to get into a pile.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we do have some nice vacs at Tellico and Tenassi where we can go through. It's more of a sweeper than a vac. It'll sweep the leaves up, and then we'll haul it off to a dump site on the course in the woods somewhere out of the way, or we'll take it back to our shop for like a compost pile. But it is a process, and every day, now the grass is slowing down, and within the next few weeks we'll be done mowing grass. But every day the guys that were on mowers are now going to be on blowers.
Yeah.
And that'll continue until usually mid-December. By Christmas we're pretty much done. So it's about 6 or 8 weeks of intense leaf cleanup.
And it just struck me. Then in the spring, when the leaves start coming back out again, that's where the oak leaves are coming out. You do it all over again for a couple of weeks in the spring, don't you?
That's right. Yeah, a lot of the oaks, especially the pin oaks and willow oaks, sometimes they'll hold on a little bit longer. And right when you think you're done, you still have some cleanup. Yeah. So really, we pull blowers every day, even in season, to blow clippings. It's our responsibility to keep all the playing surfaces as clean as we can. And thankfully, we have the support of the village to get the equipment we need to get it done.
Windy days make that tough.
Yeah, so Pat, like you said, if you hit one down the middle of the fairway and you didn't tee off until 11 o'clock and you're on 7 at Tellico at 12:30 and you hit into a pile, well,
I'm calling you.
It doesn't take a lot of wind to recreate a mess.
You call your Chelsea rep, you should have gotten that early tee time because it was clean at 8.
Yeah. My favorite golf story is we were playing an event in the Tri-Cities at the Virginian, actually, and 14 maybe. What's a par 3 on the backside there, and in the corner, and there's a heavily shaded area in peak season, so it means there's a lot of leaves in the shoulder months. And I think the golf course superintendent, he just couldn't keep up, him and his team. So they just set a couple leaf blowers on the fringe. Said, figure it out, guys.
Yeah. We've even seen guys out playing, and they have a battery-powered little leaf blower they keep in their bag, and if they get on a green where it's a lot of leaves, they'll blow their line clean.
Yeah. So, Wells, back to you. Casey talked a little bit about the green speed and how they're firming up and they're faster this time of year. I understand you have a video that you brought us regarding how you can measure green speed. Is there such a device?
There is. It's called a stimp meter. There's also a Peltz meter, which some folks use, but the industry standard is the USGA-issued stimp meter. It's a little metal bar with a notch on the top of it, and as you raise that bar, a ball falls off the notch, and you take the average. So it can be have some user error in it, but we do our best to try and find a flat spot, and only the superintendents at our properties are the ones that are taking the stimp meter reading. And We do have a range we try to stay within throughout the year, 9.5 to 10.5 ideally. Usually in the summer it's more in the 9.5 range, and we feel like that's what we can maintain with the health of the plant in mind. And this time of year we don't have to try very hard to keep it in that 10.5 range. As a matter of fact, sometimes we have to scale back or raise our mowing height or do something to keep it in that range. But again, it's a constantly changing thing we're dealing with, and we do our best to keep it in the range. So you just check out this video we got from Tellico. Did it on number 14, and it's a pretty good explanation on how we get that reading. Green speeds can change throughout the year. A lot of it can be based off of weather conditions, mowing patterns, mowing and rolling, how often you're mowing, like our mowing frequency. If you double cut a green and roll a green, it's going to roll faster than it would if you just single cut it the next day. Tournaments, we try to keep our greens around 10.5 feet for tournament play, between 9.5 and 10 feet for daily play. And then again, if we have like a TGA event like Kahidi just hosted, or a member guest event, we'll mow and roll for multiple days in a row, and the greens will incrementally get faster each day. Ideally, by the end of the tournament, the greens are as fast as they've been all week. Humidity plays a big factor in that. Fertility in the green plays a big factor in that. So, you know, speeds of the greens change from day to day. So, you know, don't go to Tenasseee and then expect greens to be rolling the exact same speed as they are at Kahidi or at Tellico. You know, that's what the practice green is for. A lot of people hear the greens are stimping a certain speed, and they're not sure what that means or how they reach that speed. So this is a USGA registered stimp meter. It was developed in 1935, hasn't changed since. It's a 3-foot piece of metal with an angle track on it and a little notch cut out at the top. The notch also has angles on the inside to hold the ball in place. And to get a consistent reading, you slowly raise the stimp meter to a certain angle. Once it reaches that angle, it is the operator's responsibility to stop, and that will release the ball, and the ball will roll out to a certain distance. So I'm going to kind of go ahead and step back and try to do my best to roll 3 balls as evenly as possible across this green. I'm expecting them to be around the 9 to 9.5 foot range. Again, it's very difficult in Tellico Village to find a flat green that will roll the similar distance in both directions. All 3 courses have a couple greens that we go to do this process, and again, 14 is not one of them at Tellico, but we're going to do the best we can here. So we'll set that down. Get our tape measure here. We'll just stick it down in the green next to the stimp meter. And right about 11 feet. So we'll put a mark in the green on this side just to kind of give us something to aim at when we're rolling them back this direction. Today it's going to be my pocket knife. And again, I was rolling a little downhill this direction, so we're going to be a little uphill going back this way. And I don't expect it to go 11 feet back that direction. All right, so that looks like probably about 9 feet going back this way. See how close I was. And we're right at 9 feet. So we're 11 feet one way, 9 feet back the other way. So we'll say greens are rolling around 10 feet today, which for Tellico Village standards is about perfect for our daily play.
What about when pros play on TV? What's the stimp meter reading?
You know, again, the stimp changes from course to course. You know, some greens, maybe say down in Florida where the greens are flat, they could probably have greens rolling 13, 14. You know, the US Open is famous for having greens in the low teens, 13, 14. Very rarely will you ever see many greens much over 13 or 14. People think that the greens at the Masters are rolling 13, 14, 15 feet. But what you can't see on TV is the amount of slope that's in those greens at Augusta National. I've been there a few times, and it is severe. TV does not do it justice. So again, slope has a lot to do with your green speeds.
Well, that was very interesting. Thanks for bringing the video. Now let's talk a little bit about handicap. And I guess we'll go to Casey.
Sure.
I guess, Wells, you play a lot. You have a handicap.
It's a high one.
Yeah. And
Not that high. No, Wells has a lot of good shots.
yeah, I've played with Wells before. And handicap is not like my bad right eye and my bad left knee.
Right.
We have a group of golfers that go out and play a lot. They turn in a score, and we used to, the golf staff used to key them in,
Yep.
but now we rely on the golfers themselves to put it in,
do.
typically off the web.
Yep.
And the USGA allows us to have a handicap committee.
Yep.
Do we have one?
We do.
What do they do, and what do they charge with?
Yeah, so the handicap committee is comprised of, there's a representative from the Golf Advisory Committee, and then some major chairpersons in the major leagues that we have. Your 18-hole ladies, your 9-hole ladies, your MGA, your 9-hole men's league. Anytime that we want to change a course handicap or our holes or our tee construction, we'll consult with these different leagues and just get some valuable input. You know, for me, I'm playing the black tees. Wells might be playing the blue tees. Pat, you're playing the white, orange?
Not orange.
Right? So white tees maybe.
Yeah.
And you know, so everybody sees the golf course and plays the golf course from different angles. So get valuable input from the a lot of the ladies, right? We wouldn't know what it's like to play from the yellow tees and
Right.
where they think the harder holes are forced carries, whereas I might think the harder holes are a longer par 3, whatever it may be. So the handicap committee takes all that information, and we get with the Tennessee Golf Association, and then that's how our course indexes and our course handicap are basically comprised.
Well, then it goes all the way down to the whole handicap.
It does.
And my understanding, we have a lot of golfers that I play with in particular that post their scores as a total score
Yep.
rather than by hole score.
Yep.
So is there a benefit to posting it one way or the other?
There's no benefit. If you played the front 9 from the white tees and you said that was way too hard, I'm going to play the back 9 from the orange, then you would probably want to post those separately so that they get allocated to the correct tee. But if you just played from 18 holes from the same tee, you can post it as an 18-hole score.
Okay.
Where a hole by hole can help you is the max you can take is a net double bogey.
Right.
So if you're receiving a stroke due to your handicap on the number 4 handicap hole at Tenassie, then if you make a 7, that's your max. That's a net 6 on a par 4. That would be the maximum you're allowed to take. So if you get a little confused on how to use net double bogey, post hole by hole, and then it'll do it for you.
Okay. I was almost negligent. We almost said goodbye without getting the calendar update. Can you update us?
Absolutely. End of October, October 28th and 29th, that weekend, we have our couples championship that we've talked about in the past. The 28th is the welcome reception and luau dinner at the yacht club. The 29th, they'll have a shotgun at Tokwa Golf Club at 1 p.m. We've got 50 couples signed up, 100
Wow.
players. Yeah, excited
That's
about that.
good.
To
First
see,
year.
Yeah, to see how that goes. I think it'll be great. And then on the Thursday, the 9th, the MGA has their annual turkey shoot, which is kind of their last major event of the year. That's traditionally been on a Saturday, but they've moved that to a Thursday. I think they're going to get more participation out of doing it on their regular scheduled day. Right. So other than that, we'll continue to operate MGA and our Tellico Linksters League throughout the end of the year. Our ladies' leagues are coming to a halt for the end of the golfing season, so they're doing their end of the year luncheons, and we're getting a chance to spend some time with them. But golf season will still be in full swing, I guess would be the pun there. You know, we're still going to be open. We'll close on Thanksgiving Day. We'll close on Christmas, and then we'll close on New Year's Day. Other than that, 362 days we're open.
Play golf.
Yep, that's right.
That wraps up another episode of Golf Talk. I'd like to thank both Wells and Casey for joining us again and all their valuable tips, what they've done. And we want to make sure that you enjoy this weather, enjoy these fabulous golf courses, go out, be safe, play lots of golf, and we'll see you next month.